So the next Wiccan Sabbath is called Imbolc, practiced on February the 2nd. And this same Wiccan holiday is also celebrated in the Roman Catholic Church, only the Catholic Church calls it Candle Mass. And the Catholics will tell you that Mary presented baby Jesus at the temple at this time. So for some reason, Mary brought her baby about a month after he was born over to the temple to show him off to the priests on February the 2nd. So in this ritual, Jesus is called the sun god by the Wiccans. And after being born on December 25th, they say, around the Yule season, he is about a month old on Imbolc. And to remind you all, Mary is a lady who could not even find a house to stay in while she gave birth to the baby Jesus. And as the story goes, she and her husband went door to door looking for shelter, but everyone told them no, that they could not stay in their houses, until she found someone who let them stay in a barn where she gave birth to Jesus. So traveling around when you are pregnant and about to give birth is pretty rough. And what that sounds like to me is that Mary and Joseph were on the run from something, like a cult of people. So in attempts to protect her baby, she put herself in that very dangerous and uncomfortable position of being on the run while pregnant. So my guess is that Mary definitely would not bring her baby a month after he was born on the run to show the temple priests, because first, they were the ones who were after her, and second, she obviously received no help from them. She was probably on the run and was trying to avoid the temple priests and took to the streets when she was about to give birth. So she was most likely protecting her child from the pagan death cult and their practice of human and child sacrifice. So I wouldn't exactly say that bringing a baby to the temple on a witch's Sabbath is a good thing, because historically people are forced into giving up their children or their firstborn child to the religious cult, or else the cult will kill the entire family. And that's where the saying comes from, give your firstborn child to. Well, who or what would want your firstborn child? Well, that would be the pedophile human sacrifice cult. So if you read the internet explanations for the Wiccan holiday of Imbolc, also celebrated as Candlemas by the Roman Catholic Church, they say they celebrate the Sabbath day by carrying candles and torches around, and of course having bonfires somewhere, because they're all just so happy that some young woman brought her newborn baby into them. So they just got to go light fires and carry torches around. Alright, the next Wiccan Sabbath day is Ostara. That is on March 21st, and it's also the spring equinox. And again, like there are two solstices, the winter and the summer solstice, there are also two equinoxes, in the spring and the fall. And all that means is the daytime and the nighttime are an equal length. So on the equinox, the sun shines directly on the equator. And so the day and the night are an equal length. So as the day and the night are an equal length on the spring equinox, in their myths, the sun god and the moon goddess are also seen to be an equal age. And they are often seen as young people, and they will hook up, make love, the lady will get pregnant, and then 9 months later, at the end of December, she will give birth on the winter solstice. And of course, Wiccans will celebrate this holiday with meeting out in the woods at night, having sex orgies and giant bonfires. Next is Beltane, taking place on May 1st. So I will discuss what the Wiccan writers, like Sabin, will tell you about Beltane. She writes on page 161 that on Beltane, many Wiccans celebrate the sexual union between the god and the goddess. On Beltane, young women will go out a-maying all night in the woods with their lovers, and many will come back pregnant. There is nothing subtle about Beltane. Despite its trappings of fun and games, it is not a G-rated holiday. Alright, so on first look, this does not make too much sense, because the sun god and the moon goddess had a sexual union last holiday on the spring equinox. And that lines up with a little sun god being born 9 months later in December, around the winter solstice. So why are Wiccans saying that this holiday of Beltane also represents a sexual union between the god and the goddess again, if they had that last holiday? Well, let me explain. On Beltane, the Wiccan cult will attempt to break up the sun god and the moon goddess, who are usually just young people who are in love and in a relationship with each other. Again, the sun god and the moon goddess are just titles given to regular, cool, but naive people who have become targets of the cult. So on Beltane, the cult will try to break up the young couple known as the sun god and the moon goddess by playing games and introducing young, attractive members of the Wiccan cult who will try to seduce them into cheating on their partners. So in writings on Beltane, you will find reference to the god called the Green Man and the goddess called the Earth Goddess. So the Earth Goddess will be played by a female cult member who tries to seduce the man, and the Green Man will be played by a male cult member who will try to seduce the woman. So I'm sure the village or town would just have regular parties and festivals during this time that everybody would show up to, including the young couple. And of course the cult will be there to make it a ritualistic game to attempt to split them up and then introduce other mates to them. So at a festival or a fair, they will have literally hundreds of Wiccan cult members who will all play roles in this. Some will work at the fair, some will act like they are just regular people attending the fair, and all these people will be there to manipulate the couple. So some will buy them drinks and attempt to get them drunk, try to get them to dance with other people, have them meet other people, have them sit at tables with other groups of people at the party, distract them, and maybe eventually get them separated and then lost from each other. Cult members will also use triggers to get the couple into an argument that turns into a fight. And then let's say the lady goes off crying, and a minute or two later she's approached by a sympathetic and good-looking cult member who just hates to see young ladies standing off by themselves crying while such a great party is going on, etc., etc. So often the cult member acting as the Earth Goddess will play a role that makes her look beautiful but tragic, as if she was very intelligent but sad and needs to be rescued from something, and this will attract the man. And often the cult member who will play the role of the Green Man will play someone who is very sympathetic to her. He will seem strong, connected, and financially well off. So he has everything together while she has all her little problems with her boyfriend, and that will attract the woman to the male cult member. But the truth is that these young, good-looking cult members are anything but people who have it all together. In fact, they are very sick people and have been abused by the Wiccan cult since they were children. So they all enjoy the opportunity of getting into a role and acting like they are real people. But in the end, they will always turn on you, stab you in the back, and help set you up to get tortured and murdered by their cult. And to expose just how sick this Wiccan cult is, if the cult is successful of splitting the couple up, and let's just say the man ends up sleeping with one of the cult member whores on Beltane and she gets pregnant, if you count ahead 9 months on the Wiccan wheel of death, you will get to Imbolc, where the cult woman will give birth, and then that infant will be brought to the temple or the coven to be sacrificed as part of their religion. So if women like Mary, Mother of Christ, will not do it, will not bring her baby in to get sacrificed by the Wiccan cult, then the pagan cult has thousands of whores who will. So they will get your children one way or another if you let them. So that should wake a lot of you up about hooking up with some strange chick you meet at a carnival after drinking too much and having a fight with your wife, because she may just get pregnant so they could do terrible things to your child. Alright, the next Wiccan Sabbath is called Midsummer, taking place on June the 21st. It's also known as the summer solstice. So again, on the summer solstice, there's the longest day and the shortest night. on the summer solstice, the sun god is said to shine the longest, and then after he dies, because then the days begin to get shorter and the nights grow longer. So Thea Sabin writes that the summer solstice was known as the fire festival in old Europe, end quote. But what Wiccan Sabbath day is it? In fact, I think every Wiccan holiday is celebrated by killing a bunch of cool people, by setting them on fire, and then having gay sex orgies. And I quote Thea Sabin, who describes the Wiccan celebration of Midsummer on page 163. Men, chosen as kings, would give up their crowns and pretend to die. So she writes that one midsummer custom was to light barrels on fire and then roll them down hills. And I'm sure people were stuffed inside those barrels too. So this is obviously a big human sacrifice ritual holiday, where retarded Wiccans could go after men who looked and acted like kings, so they could stuff them inside barrels that they'll light on fire and then roll them down hills. So to celebrate the death of the sun god on the summer solstice, the Wiccans will kill that nice good guy who was in love with that beautiful moon goddess. Then they would take him, shove him inside a barrel, then light it on fire and roll him down a hill. To quote Sabin on page 163, quote, "At the summer solstice, some of the Wiccans believe the god is in his full glory, and the goddess is pregnant with his child and with the harvest. So the cult of Wiccans arranged a big setup to break up the man from the woman, get the man to cheat on the woman, impregnate one of their cult member whores, so they could sacrifice his baby next Imbolc. So the cult member whore is pregnant with both his child and the harvest. So this ritual has double meanings, because not all these rituals work out the same way. It could mean that the moon goddess is pregnant with the sun god's baby, or the earth goddess is pregnant with the sun god's baby. So the line that she is pregnant with both his child and the harvest has a very sinister meaning.